The steel cable is pulling taut. Right now, the only thing standing between success and catastrophic failure is the perfect synchronization of two veteran operators. They must combine the raw power of their diesel engines to drag this monstrous piece of industrial infrastructure up the unforgiving incline. The tension builds. The steel fibers scream under the sheer physics of the load. And then, disaster strikes. The high-tensile steel cable violently snaps, whipping through the air like a lethal weapon. The sheer kinetic energy released in that fraction of a second is enough to slice through solid metal. But these men do not surrender to the mountain. They regroup. The two heavy haulers are quickly reconnected. The moment of absolute suspense has arrived once again. The lead tractor unit claws its way forward, fighting for traction on the slick, treacherous asphalt. The command is given. The throttles are pushed wide open. Thousands of foot-pounds of torque surge through the drivetrains. The engines roar, billowing black diesel smoke into the night sky. Push it to the absolute limit. Pull harder. And then, a sickening crack echoes through the canyon. The heavy-duty iron chains have completely shattered under the astronomical weight. The structural integrity of forged iron has surrendered to gravity. The mission is abruptly halted. Defeat, for now, is unavoidable. Welcome back to the second chapter of this grueling heavy haulage nightmare. Right now, this massive transport rig lies paralyzed on one of the most punishing mountain arteries in Southeast Asia. They are entirely immobilized, forced to wait in the suffocating darkness for a heavy rescue team to replace a blown tire. The immense downward force of the cargo simply crushed the reinforced rubber of a rear dual tire. Soon, a specialized heavy-duty tow rig will be deployed to provide the extreme pulling force required to conquer this ascent. We wait in the shadows to see if human engineering can overcome this brutal hairpin turn. This is not just a curve in the road. It is a ruthless, unforgiving 180-degree switchback, sitting on a punishing 8% uphill grade. It is a graveyard for heavy machinery. The crippled transport rig rests at the bottom of this geographic trap, helplessly waiting for its mechanical savior. Suddenly, salvation arrives. Emerging from the darkness is a heavy-duty commercial tractor unit, a massive transport beast dispatched specifically to drag the stranded heavy machinery up from the depths of the pass. The two crews finally merge, but the battle is far from over. Before any power can be applied, the crew must undertake the agonizing task of replacing the exploded rear tire in total darkness. The night grows deeper, and the mountain pass transforms into a chaotic bottleneck. A convoy of massive liquid transport tankers, each carrying thousands of gallons of highly flammable fuel, is forced to navigate the treacherous downhill slope right beside the stranded operation. Suddenly, a heart-stopping moment unfolds. One of the descending vehicles loses its grip and slides backward. Panic ripples through the air. A continuous line of fuel tankers creeps downward, bumper to bumper, executing a deadly dance around the obstacle. Among them is a heavy Japanese transport truck, adding to the extreme congestion of this narrow mountain corridor. The stranded heavy haul rig remains completely crippled. Midnight approaches. The chill of the mountain air sets in. These men have been battling this beast of a machine in this unforgiving terrain since dawn, yet they have not advanced a single inch past the mountain summit. The physical and psychological exhaustion is immense. Finally, a breakthrough. The blown tire is replaced. The massive multi-axle trailer is secured. The heavy-duty rescue tractor positions itself directly ahead. They are going to attempt a synchronized dual pull to conquer the switchback. The survival of this entire delivery schedule relies on this very maneuver. The logistics supply chain is breaking down with every passing hour. The heavy steel towing cable is secured. The lead truck is anchored to the massive tractor unit behind it. The steel wire rope tightens, stretching perfectly straight under the immense preliminary tension. Now, the absolute critical phase begins. The two drivers must execute a flawless, synchronized acceleration. A single misstep, a fraction of a second difference in applying the throttle, will result in catastrophic failure. The heavy payload slowly inches upward. The agonizing wait is over. The engines scream, but physics is a cruel master. The tow cable reaches its maximum braking strength and violently rips apart. Sparks shower the dark highway as the metallic whip lashes against the pavement. The crews are forced to pivot. They abandon the single cable strategy. This time, they deploy 4 massive industrial-grade iron chains to distribute the unimaginable towing force. The struggle is monumental. These transport professionals are enduring absolute hell on this mountain curve. The lead truck delicately inches forward to remove the slack from the heavy chains. The two drivers must now perfectly match their engine revolutions per minute. They must move in absolute unison to drag hundreds of thousands of pounds of dead weight up the steep, twisting grade. We watch with bated breath, standing on this freezing asphalt since the early hours of the morning, hoping this final desperate attempt will break the curse of the mountain. The chains pull tight. The mechanical beasts awaken. The lead vehicle suddenly begins to slide backward, losing the battle against the gravitational pull of the earth. The rear wheels spin helplessly. They reset. Both drivers hammer the throttles. The roar of the diesel engines is deafening. They try to forcefully drag each other up the incline. The suspense is paralyzing. The lead truck surges. The power is maximized. Pull. Keep pulling. Do not stop. And then, the ultimate heartbreak. The massive iron chains shatter. It is over. The raw power approach has fundamentally failed. The crew must now execute a highly dangerous tactical retreat. The colossal transport rig must reverse back down the treacherous, unlit mountain grade to find a flat section of highway. Reversing a multi-jointed trailer of this magnitude in total darkness on a steep decline is a maneuver fraught with extreme peril. The operation is entirely shut down for the night. A day of total, crushing defeat. The long load refuses to yield. The clock strikes 2 in the morning. A radical new strategy is implemented. Brute force has failed, so they must use sheer intellect and mechanical engineering. They are going to surgically dismantle the load right here on the mountain pass. They will bring in a heavy mobile crane to offload half of the colossal cargo. By removing weight and physically retracting the length of the multi-axle trailer, they hope to manipulate the vehicle dynamics enough to conquer the tight turning radius. The crew has been awake for over 48 hours. Sleep deprivation is a dangerous enemy, yet they push forward. The heavy mobile crane arrives and begins to deploy its massive hydraulic arm, preparing to lift the heavy steel structures from the main trailer. The stranded transport rig stretches out along the highway, looking more like a massive freight train than a road vehicle. The initial steel crane arm section is rigged and hoisted into the night air. It will be transferred to a secondary flatbed transport truck waiting nearby. This delicate, high-risk lifting operation in the middle of a dark mountain pass will consume at least 3 grueling hours. The goal is to carefully relocate the 3 massive sections situated at the rear of the trailer. If successful, they might just conquer the mountain summit before the morning sun breaks over the horizon. Operating heavy hydraulic machinery in the blinding sunlight is dangerous enough. Performing precision lifts in the pitch black of night is an absolute nightmare. The stakes have never been higher. The mobile crane drops its stabilization outriggers onto the asphalt. It must now attempt a highly dangerous dual lift, picking up 2 immense steel structures simultaneously. As the hydraulic winch strains under the astronomical payload, a terrifying sequence unfolds. The sheer tonnage of the cargo completely overwhelms the mobile crane. The center of gravity violently shifts. The entire crane truck begins to tilt. The massive counterweight loses its battle against the leverage. The front cabin of the crane truck lifts completely off the ground, suspended precariously in the air. The machine is teetering on the absolute brink of a catastrophic rollover. The immense weight is dragging the crane down with it. The entire chassis is violently rocking back and forth. By a miracle of engineering and operator skill, the balance is caught. The two massive steel crane arms are completely elevated off the main transport bed. The lead tractor unit slowly drives forward, clearing the drop zone. The secondary flatbed truck must now reverse into position beneath the suspended steel giants. The secondary flatbed trailer utilizes its hydraulic expansion system, stretching its chassis longer to accommodate the extreme dimensions of the new cargo. The mobile crane slowly, agonizingly, begins to lower the two immense steel arms onto the newly positioned flatbed. The tension in the air is palpable. The crew races against the clock. In just a few hours, the morning commute will begin. Hundreds of commercial vehicles will flood this narrow mountain pass. If they do not clear this highway immediately, they will trigger a monumental traffic catastrophe. The steel arms make contact with the flatbed. The load is structurally stabilized. The mobile crane carefully retracts its lifting arm and places the hook back onto the asphalt. It prepares to lift the final stabilization pillar from the main rig, planning to swing it over to the front section of the secondary trailer. The final two pieces of the steel puzzle are safely detached from the lifting mechanism. The secondary transport truck creeps forward to adjust its position, but the mountain demands one final toll. The operation comes to a grinding, devastating halt. The lifting crane suffers a massive mechanical failure. The complex hydraulic system of the mobile crane has broken down completely. The operation is paralyzed. The secondary transport truck, carrying the two successfully offloaded steel arms, decides to abandon the convoy. It navigates the hairpin turn, escaping the trap of the mountain pass. But the original transport rig, still carrying a massive portion of the payload, is trapped. It must remain anchored to the side of the highway. The clock nears 5 in the morning. The dark sky begins to turn gray. The heavy transport truck that hauled the mobile crane is now completely useless. A steady stream of fuel transport tankers begins to climb the mountain grade, squeezing perilously close to the stranded operation. They navigate around the crippled machinery, continuing their journey to distribute highly volatile fuel. The sun will soon rise over this scene of mechanical carnage. The crew faces another day of grueling labor, fighting against gravity, fighting against the limitations of steel, and fighting for their sheer survival on this unforgiving mountain pass.